Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. It's a beautifully sunny July 23rd, and Michael and I are here to talk about all sorts of things today. How you doing today, Michael?
Doing good. Happy to have you back. It was a little bit hard to manage the chat last week, but super excited that you're back and able to hop in and talk about some of the fun things that we're going to talk about today in terms of the field process and the new updates with sessions, the ability to access things on your phone. So, extremely excited that we're going to be able to go through and talk about that part of the platform and kind of the advancements, right? I was talking to you about this a little couple weeks ago about how awesome it is for us at least, and probably for all of you, of course, users, that we get to talk about new and fresh things kind of regularly now on a
hmm
cadence that they're deciding to update things. But first and foremost, welcoming you back. I would love to hear a little bit about the Esri conference, even though I know we're primarily talking about Bluebeam, but it's also good to learn more about what the industry's doing.
Yeah, well, actually, I talked about Bluebeam a little bit at the Esri conference. But first, one
Were
small
they there?
announcement. No, they weren't there, which was
Oh.
kind of surprising. So announcements wise, I usually like to throw something out there, and I would be remiss if I didn't spend a moment to say a few words of gratitude and thanks to DJ CJ for helping MCR for all these years. She has taken a position outside of the organization, and we will be greatly missing her. But thankfully, she's still in my text world, and I'll be able to keep track with her and see what's going on. So some of you have met her at XCon or have interacted with her throughout the years. She's just one of the best people on the planet, and I will miss her greatly. And we certainly want to thank her for everything that she's done for MCR. But on that note, speaking of San Diego, because when was the last time that we got to see her was in San Diego, and that's where I was. Actually I texted her from the same conference hall that XCon was because that's where some of the Esri conference had spilled over to. So if anybody's been to the San Diego Convention Center, it's pretty big. And the Esri conference is double the size of Autodesk University.
Hmm.
So AU is about 10,000 people. The Esri conference is 20,000 people. And that's where it's been for a few years. That's where it will be for the next few years. That's where AU is going to be this year. But it overflows the conference center and it goes to the neighboring Marriott and the neighboring Hilton and uses a lot of those facilities as well. It's just a massive thing, but it's pretty easy to get around. It was the strangest conference. There's no food. There's no free coffee. There's just water. There's no snacks. There's no
There's
nothing.
nothing.
Whereas like AU, there's snacks and cookies and muffins and stuff. And here there's like little booths. So if you want a cookie, it's $5 at the Auntie Anne station. And the
Wow.
expo hall is massive. And if you've ever been to AU for expo hall, most people go and they grab a beer and they walk around. This one, people are just walking around because they want to talk technical stuff with zero beverages, which was weird to me. But it was great. Talked to a lot of folks. I managed a couple of the booths at the Autodesk booth, so a couple of the demo stations, and folks were coming over and talking about all types of things. And one thing that I wanted to share with MCR was a lot of folks came with a fear or renewed respect for digitization of our old plans, right? With floods and fires being more common and the threat of you know those historical documents getting wiped out, more and more people came up and said, "How do I get my PDFs into GIS or into CAD?" And it was quite funny because I tried not to say the Bluebeam word while I was at the Autodesk booth. But I mentioned like if you can clean it up in Bluebeam a little bit, and then you can take it into AutoCAD and convert it to line work and go from there. But a lot of folks have these big old plan sets. Some people were saying that they've got some that are about 150 years old that they want to digitize. So I wanted to see if anybody out there in the community had any ideas for ways that we can convert those old PDF or old plans, scan them, and get them into CAD. But it was really interesting. It was a good conversation about PDFs and their role in moving forward. Um, are we going to still be able to access PDFs in 40 years? So is that the right workflow, or do we want to just put it into some sort of CAD line work? you know, a lot of that historical data has been in microfiche, and I don't know when the last time you saw a microfiche was. Even
I
know
don't
what a
even know what that
microfiche is?
is.
Yeah.
No.
Um, Microfiche is something that like libraries and other, you know, cities and courthouses and stuff will have. It's a kind of like I was going to say like a slide projector, but I don't know if you've seen that. Um,
I've seen a slide projector.
so it's kind of like that where you have a
Yeah.
little film and you put the film in the microscope looking thing, and it allows you to view those documents that have been shrunk down. So it
It's
takes.
almost like the thing that they used to have that was kind of like a projector type thing where it had a glass mirror at the top and you'd place like a filament. Like I remember writing note like teachers would write notes on it and it would project onto like a screen, right?
Mhm,
Like that kind of thing.
kind of like that, yeah. And it would be on a instead of a 36 by 24 sheet of paper, you're viewing it on a smaller screen, which allow you to zoom around and see that information.
Oh, that's like where they had the old documents at like the library that I think they showed that in like the movie It, right? Where they go like the
I'm
library
not
and they
watching
have
that.
like old documents.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Your boy don't like clowns.
So I think
Um,
there's some like representation where I've seen it, but I've never physically seen it. Yeah. Micro, whatever.
right. And oh wow, we've gone full circle there. Kim Basinger uses one in Batman. Okay, I'll have to go back and watch that one. And David, how many Mylar prints has everyone scanned? I've got a pretty good paper cut scar right here, Mylar cut scar from one of those, getting awry in the scanner many years ago. Oh, Rachel for the win. Look at that in the chat. Picture of a microfiche. It's a weird name. I don't know. It's probably named after somebody, but that's exactly what I was trying to describe. Did I get close?
Hmm. Yeah, this is completely different than what I was thinking.
Okay. But that's how a lot of documents are stored. You know, if you want to go find something from the 1800s or something that of an old plat or anything, it's going to be in that format at your local library or courthouse or something. And then if you need to go look up the county land records for your property, that's probably what you're going to do. But how is that going to look in 50 years? It's probably still going to work, but um, you know, with all of our plans being more digital, you know, there's no more plan to print out to scan into a microfiche, right? So it's all going to be digital. So it was a weird topic to think about. You know, we're spending most of our time, especially here on MCR, talking about PDFs. Where will the PDF be in 40 years?
Well, I mean, they're building enough data centers, but that's another question. Like, what do you depend on after data centers, or is that just the new era that you're going to be in, and regardless of feasibility, like everything is just stored digitally?
Yeah, it was wild. It was a fun conversation, but lots of folks are leveraging Esri more architecturally, which was wild to me. They want their Revit and their Navisworks content into GIS. They more, you know, Civil's been there for a while, but it was a really interesting conference to attend because these folks are dealing with that data that's been out for years and years. They're not necessarily doing design work; they're managing, and what do we do after it's actually built? So it was really eye opening, and it was fun to be on that different side. Whereas last time I went to Autodesk University, it's more about the design and the future and how are we going to design in 5 years. But this
It
one's
was
more
it's
about,
innovative, yeah.
yeah, not so much innovative, but more you know, historical, I guess. But
Like historical record keeping, I guess, right?
yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
probably it's not an accurate way to say it, but you know, it's pretty cool. But anyway, today we're going to talk about field to office coordination workflows, and this ties into what we were talking about earlier. You know, Bluebeam as a whole, since they've moved to the subscription model, have really upped the game when it comes to releasing updates and keeping us on our toes and having new things. And with that comes more updates. So I don't think we've officially talked about it on MCR, but the Bluebeam Cloud app that we've showed off for iOS is now available on Android. So we were talking before we started, the need for an iPad is kind of gone down a little bit, right? Unless you just need that larger format or you already have one great, but you can do a lot with just a Windows device or your phone or an Android phone or an Android tablet, right? So we're going to go through how you would manage a field to office workflow and office to field workflow right through the Bluebeam solutions that we've got. So Bluebeam Revu, we'll get into Bluebeam Studio, and we'll get into Bluebeam Cloud.
I think that's a good start. Yeah.
All right.
And I also think like the iPad too, because I was just looking as we were talking on our phone, right? Like the only reason you would want an iPad is if you want access to your tool sets, right?
Right.
So, and now that Android actually has the same capabilities, which we all, if you didn't know before, it was just a reader. So I actually hired a bunch of devs for the Android development. So now you can mark up on your Android phone for all of you non-iOS users.
Yeah, and if you've paid attention to some of the corporate stuff going on with Bluebeam and Nemetschek, they're making investments. So more dev, they're hiring more people. They're really making a good push. And then with their acquisition of GoCanvas, that's really going to add more functionality into Bluebeam Cloud and Bluebeam Studio as well. So it's a very exciting time. And I always think it's funny that we're still just talking about PDFs. Like, who gets excited about PDFs? But here we go. 3.5 years later, Michael and I are still talking about it every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
But all right.
Do you want me to start sharing, or do you want to? How do we want to do this?
If you want to start sharing, and then we'll just probably invite each other back and forth, and we'll pretend that I'm outside. I was outside last week.
Yeah, and I probably should. Let me sign out of my iPhone because I think it's going to be better if I don't have this account because it will sign me out and
I can
use my demo phone.
See if I can get my
you are now logged out. So 1 second here. I'm just signing in via my Joe Demo account. So Joe Demo, for all of you that don't know, is a personal email address with a free account. So folks always ask me when we're demoing this, oops, my headset almost got lost. How and what happens if you don't have a paid for account? So basically I am in studio via on my phone, but let's talk about field things. So if we're going to be going out and doing field conditions in terms of looking and being able to notate at pre-construction as we go through and construct, not pre-construction, but construction, a building, right, layout, and we need to go through and mark up and confirm. I think the one caveat for me, maybe still leveraging the iPad, would be the ability to get tool sets, because you can still have the free non-paid for application on your iPad and in a session, and this is like the old way, right, in terms of being able to have full access to sessions and the capabilities to mark up in that session on the iPad only. That's no longer the case for the reader version of Revu and getting access to a session. iPad, that is still the case, meaning you can still access your tool sets in a session. You cannot do that in a session on a free version of Revu, which is their reader version. Okay. So coming back into here, right, the ability to access your punch list in those types of manner, if you're going out into the field, right, on your phone, you still have access to a session, which is the new way. So if I'm going out into the field and I want to mark up the same site plan, I can click on this one. This is the free, because what I always like to offer is the ability to work with subcontractors, right? Subcontractors are going to say, I don't want to pay for this. They're not going to automatically say that. I'm just going to go with that as my character for today. I'm not going to pay for this, Jason, but I need to coordinate and mark up with you. What can I do? They can download the Bluebeam Cloud app on their Android device or iPhone, and they can still markup. They can use rectangle, cloud, ellipse. I don't think. Well, you can use a vector pen, which you can't do on the free version web-based app. But anyways, text, cloud, call out, highlight, pen, cloud plus, and image. Ooh, so I can place an image from camera.
Oh boy.
Do photo. We'll do photo library.
And of course, my app isn't working ideally, so I'm going to update it on my phone.
Keep current selection. Tap and drag image. Okay, so it's going to be at this building existing area here. How long does it take to populate? I can do a line width.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah, so you can do like a... So it will allow you to place a photo, which is, it's full res on my phone. Is it full res in here?
It's good from what I can see.
Yeah, it's almost full res. Yeah. So you can throw a photo on the PDF, but can I attach it to an existing markup? That would be my ideal circumstance here. So let me, oh, its markup's locked by author. If I select the image, can I do anything? No. Let me place a markup revision cloud right below it. So there's going to be a revision cloud here that I just placed from my phone. And no, I can't. And remind you, this is a free version, and I'm sure Jason has signed into his regular one, so I don't know if it's a little bit different in terms of being able to go through and do that. But on the web-based, I remember that you were able to like change statuses. So if you're out there in the field, you can take a photo, place it. You can mark up for any issues while you're out there. It is great graphics in terms of like scrolling in on your phone. It's the same type of visual capabilities if I were to zoom in the actual desktop application. So the phone does work from that perspective. You can attach photos. That's the free version if you wanted to invite sub-consultants. And I'm going to assume that it's going to be the same for the paid for version on your phone for sessions, for markups. Because I remember when I signed in first, it was just those options. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
There was talk originally that there was going to be some limitations, but if there were, they're going to be pretty minor.
Yeah.
So I just made a change. I made that arrow on my phone. It is a little bit of a different workflow, right? So when you first place things, it's going to be deep to the default color. It was red. And then there isn't the same properties that you would see in Revu. So in order to edit a markup, you need to sort of hold over it, like hold with your finger, and then it will give you the option to either edit or delete. If you choose edit, then it gives you the capability to change your line width or your line color. So I went from green, now it's purple, and there we go. So that was kind of fun. Let's do that again. So if I go from purple now to blue, you're seeing that happen pretty darn quick. And I'm doing that from my phone. Michael's been playing on his phone, but we're still connecting to the Bluebeam Revu desktop product. So if you're in the office and you're managing things, you can be talking to folks either on speakerphone or whatever, or Teams, whatever you need to do, and coordinate even easier and see those things in real time, right? And that's been something that we've talked about for a while. You know, the days of sending somebody out to a job site and then waiting for 5 o'clock for them to come back, and then they just give you all this paperwork to sort through. There could have been things that, and then you find things that they've got issues. They have to go back to the job site, and it becomes a waste of time, right? Drive time, gas money, all that other stuff, when we could just be coordinating this way and being more efficient with our workflows. And that's the underlying sort of drive to Bluebeam Revu. Let's be more efficient with everything. And this is a prime example of that. And they've made this even easier by allowing this to coordinate with people using the website or the app. All you need is a Bluebeam ID in order to do this.
Yeah, I think one of the
Asterisk.
key factors, is the versatility now, right? Because I think what most people wanted is I wanted to just quickly mark up in the field, and really it was most of it was workarounds, right? And then it was to siloed information too. I think that's one of the other big things too. If I come into here and go to apps.bluebeam.com, it was siloed information specifically around the fact that if I use projects, which Bluebeam Cloud projects is different than what you're going to use for sessions. I know it's going to start muddying the water now because it's like projects and sessions, but that's what you have on your desktop application. Projects is completely different than the projects that you know on the desktop application. Projects is built around from that constructability process. But the issue with this is it's siloed information of PDFs because you're uploading it into here, right? And folks didn't really want that of, well, why am I going to upload into a project? Because if you think about it now, well, we can just upload it into a session and coordinate this way, and it's single source of truth in a session, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to do with this? Because this does have a great capability to do punch lists out in the field and that type of stuff, right? But at this moment, now I have sessions in the cloud. I would personally probably stay clear of this if I want a single source of truth. If we're using something different to track our RFIs and submittals, right, then I would just leverage this for that coordination on the PDF. And then take it up a notch. If this collaborates with what we're all hoping, because it did before, ACC, where we're publishing PDFs from our full design set and automatically uploading them into a session, right? That is the full round trip whenever they decide to act on this new handshake agreement, right?
Yeah. That's going to be pretty cool. David, how does this work with New Forma? I have no idea. Michael, do you know? Because there is still that integration with Studio and New Forma, but would that allow anything in cloud?
Well, does New Forma have if you have Studio Prime integration, does it allow you to create sessions? That would be my question to those New Forma users, because I believe there is. If you have Studio Prime, you can integrate from New Forma, which is checking out a PDF of New Forma, uploading it into a session, and then you would just use sessions like you natively would, so you would have access to things out in the field in that manner. But you would have to have Studio Prime in order to leverage that, and you can't have it's so confusing because you can't have Studio Prime for app access like that if you want, as an organization, single sign-on. Confusing, right?
Yeah, it gets a little wild.
So if you want full plugin capabilities with using Studio Prime, right now they don't allow you to have SSO. In the true manner of fact of what SSO is. That doesn't mean single sign-on into any device. I'm saying the true fact of domain access to your SSO. I know I always have to clarify that because there's a difference with Bluebeam and true SSO. And there's still even a difference with Autodesk products because we just activated our SSO through Autodesk, right? Like it was SSO, but not in the true form of like Active Directory SSO. So
it gets real muddy real quick, and especially if we start adding like New Forma and Autodesk and all the SharePoints and all the other things that are related that we probably all use in some way, shape, or form, but there is no true one to rule them all yet. And I think everybody wants to be that, but they realize it's just pretty much impossible. So let's just be friends. So
yeah, I think there was like a way to. I don't want to edit my account, I think. Oh, I don't want to do that either. I'm going to go into here. Because there is an integration for projects. So if you were just going to silo information into your projects, you can upload. Is it in settings? It's export, file activity. They like to change things around. Integrations, next. I don't have any integration accounts, but there is the ability to like SharePoint, Newforma, Box, some other ones for your integration for your sets in here. So like if you go to drawings, let me see if it's in here, if I can figure out where those are.
So, question from Matt: the projects in Bluebeam Cloud are not the same as the Bluebeam Studio projects, correct?
Yeah. Well,
asterisk there.
There's one. Like you can pull from it. So I can import from Studio. I can grab from my Studio projects and pull PDFs out of projects in the desktop application into cloud projects, but they're copying into the cloud from the Studio project in the desktop application to the project in the cloud. And I really need like a whiteboard so I can show you like it's pulling it from this app. So right here, it's pulling from my why am I in tool chest? So it's pulling from here, but it's copying the files from here and uploading them into here. They don't live in both areas. It's copying them into the new AWS storage of the cloud app.
It's a copy of it. It's not a real-time updatable thing.
Correct. Which would be awesome because when you're done, you could just close this and then it updates in your desktop application, but it doesn't. You can export it out, but that's when you go to here, exports, like you have that option to go through and export out everything. So go to settings, export your data. I can say, go to that Studio project. Great, but it's not like we'll go look at it. So I'm going to store it in here. We're gathering your project data, which will take a couple of minutes. Okay. So as it goes through and grabs it, we'll look at it in here because it's going to be different, right?
Yep.
It's not, it's exporting, which is not what I want it to just be connected.
So as we wait, I got a squirrel moment. We haven't squirreled in a while. I take it back, we squirrel all the time. But going back to the Esri conference and talking about connected workflows, there's a new program from Esri called Esri Excalibur. Cool name, right? It allows real-time collaboration.
Did you come up with that name for them?
I wish. I'm not that smart. It's real-time collaboration between your desktop product and a drone. So as the drone is flying, you're seeing the data in real time, and you can mark up and tell the pilot, like, hey, you missed a spot. Go back over here.
The pilot, you mean there's a pilot piloting the drone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go collaborate in real time as that drone is spitting out video data. So yeah, pretty cool. Baby, we're getting close. Super mega ultra cloud. Yeah. I feel like we could make an acronym out of that. You know.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna take.
And part of that, you know, you're streaming. We've got VPN. We've got other limitations. It's not.
Yeah.
You can't blame on anything here.
It also sends you like an email too. Yeah. So here's the email.
Exported complete. That's funny. It says download Bluebeam Cloud app from the Apple App Store today, and it doesn't mention the Android Google Store. Google, what do they call it?
Apple has their grip on the. It's almost like. Well, yeah, it's almost like how Windows has their grip on Autodesk software. So.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so as much as this would have been and is still a great idea, I think there's a lot more work to understand, like the need for single source of truth. And when you have something great like sessions as my single source of truth, right? You have that option. The other great thing is it is in the web browser is you do have the ability more so to access your tool sets. You can also access statuses on markups, which is pretty cool. So if you go over here, and this is on again the web-based application, not right now the phone. And I don't know if it will ever be, but I would assume they would start to get there, hopefully, because that would be cool if you had your tool sets, everything on your phone that you needed in a session. And then you can just mark statuses in here too. So like if I wanted to confirm this status and write a comment, I have that option. So again, on the web-based app, there are some more capabilities. Again, we all know it's not supposed to be the desktop application, but that ability to access anywhere, anytime from any web browser is pretty sweet.
It really is. It still blows my mind. It seems so simple, but the amount of work that had to have gone into this, and it's just continuing to get better, is insane to me. And it makes me wonder, tinfoil hat time. It's been a while since I put that on. Like, will the desktop product ever go away? Will it just be a cloud thing where you just do it all on a website? That would be weird because you'd still have to upload it and you wouldn't have local copies. I wonder if they do
I
like
don't
a
think,
desktop connector type of thing.
yeah, I don't think the desktop application will ever go away.
Yeah, offline access is difficult. You're right, David.
Yeah, I mean, your phone, if you didn't have internet, it still caches it local, right? So let me go to airplane mode on my phone. That's a great question.
What will happen then?
I don't know. So let me go to my sleep mode is still on my phone.
Must be early there. I wonder if it's, something where, uh, it is fairly real time, right? So if I log into Bluebeam Cloud on the web browser, it will kick me out of the desktop product and vice versa. If I'm in the desktop process or product and I log in on my phone, it immediately pops up and says, "Hey, you've already logged in here." So if you did lose access to internet or went into airplane mode, what would happen then? Could you truly be signed into both, or would it just
It's
kick you out?
so here it says unable to join the session, connect to the internet. So if I undo it, let's see what happens if I'm walking the field
Yeah,
and my
yeah,
phone
exactly. You're
loses
walking around the
connection.
field, you walk past the wrong building, and it cuts off your Wi-Fi.
Yep, kicked me out right away.
Interesting.
Does
So
not
off.
let you offline on your phone.
Okay, so there's a big fat caveat. You have to be connected to internet at all times, which is kind of like what we expected at this point with most things in technology. But um, never mind what we talked about with the iPad. Now we're back to the iPad being an excellent solution because it can work offline.
Yeah, I mean now, I guess it just comes down to what access to cellular data do you have in the field, which will always be the question, won't it? That's for most things in a centralized storage.
Yeah, the fields in BFE Georgia said hold my beer for access. Like there's still,
Yeah.
as we continue to develop our world, we're getting farther and farther away from cell towers, and sometimes we're building cell towers and we don't have access. Yeah,
Starlink.
yeah, Starlink. Um, most sites now have Wi-Fi access, but yeah, that's usually some sort of thing, and it's not guaranteed to be there on day one.
How bad are some job sites with cellular data? Like I feel like cellular data has come a pretty far. Well, actually, I take that back because even like in hospitals, you don't get really good cell service. So
Yeah, I've been in offices that don't have great Wi-Fi access. Heck, even our North Little Rock headquarters, some of those conference rooms with the glass doors, you lose Wi-Fi.
hmm.
So it is really a unique thing to consider.
I go to the Mayo Clinic. My wife works there, Doug, and sometimes your phone don't work.
Yeah, because you're stealing the power from somebody's pacemaker or something. You can't have that.
No, that's not what it is. I'm pretty sure it's just all of the like equipment that's there, right? Isn't that one of the main factors? I don't know the science behind it, but you don't got good cell service at some hospitals.
Yeah, it could be because yeah, anything near imaging, like you can't use your cell phone. You're not supposed to use your cell phone on an airplane. Um, People still do.
I don't use my cellular data. Yeah, you can get the Wi-Fi on the
Yeah, airplane mode and
airplane.
Wi-Fi works well.
Even though, yeah, their Wi-Fi is kind of, which is weird because their videos on the plane work, but like if you're doing Wi-Fi from their Wi-Fi, it doesn't really work. So they must have it all stored somewhere local. Giant
You think
magnets.
so? Ooh, that's a thought. I don't know. We'll find out in my next flight next week. Speaking of which, next week, Michael and I are both traveling
Yes.
to Little Rock. So stay tuned if we will be able to have an episode tomorrow or next week. I don't know what my schedule is on Tuesday, so we will figure that out.
Yeah, I will not be. My flight leaves here at 7 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will probably punt next week. So August, nope, July 30th. We're gonna skip. We haven't skipped in a while, but we're gonna
We
have a
haven't
skip.
skipped in forever, but we will post something together later that day because you'll be there earlier than me, and
Yep.
then we'll meet together that night. But I'll be there around like 3 or 4, so I'll probably see you in the office or whatever. But we'll take a group picture. Matt Lynn will be there. You've all met him, so maybe we'll take a three person picture.
Kyle
Post on
Davis.
there. Kyle
Oh man.
Davis, Kyle Lee. We could have everybody that has been on MCR group photo and post it in the channel.
Right. Maybe we'll do a take a picture in DJ CJ's old cubicle spot. Oh no.
No,
Uh
that'll pull the heartstrings
I
there.
ruined the happy
Yeah.
moment. But
We're
yeah, I'm
expecting a
excited to see
karaoke
everybody.
video. David Clark has been on this karaoke video for some time now.
It's never happened. Yeah, I don't know.
Was yours, right? That he was talking about that he thinks is
He
out there?
thinks he thinks he saw me, but yeah.
I have seen it.
Yeah, I can't promise that version of Jason will come out next week.
Yeah, there are some very passionate people with karaoke that work here at ATG.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're gonna have to get old Matt Lynn up there. I think he promised.
He did promise.
Yeah. What song would he do? Start thinking about it.
I don't know.
Start doing. You got a lot of road trip time where you can practice. There you go.
Matt's driving. But I think so. A good thing for us, I guess we could do is we could post things of what we're doing with our tech summit and what we do as a company here at ATG, which is promoting continuing education. So maybe every day we'll post something. If you're not part of the LinkedIn channel group, join and we'll post something in there. I promise you, at least I'll try to get something in there every day of what we're doing in terms of like continuing education and promoting growth here at ATG. So I myself or Jason, actually, Jason's way better than me, but I'll try to get better at posting in that group channel and show you guys some updates on what we're having. But for sure, we'll get a group picture.
Yeah, it'd be fun. So Matt, remind me, remind us. He's a responsible one between us two, obviously, because we scroll way too much. But yeah, so next week, no live episode, but stay tuned to the LinkedIn channel. We'll post something and
share some updates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back into projects again, I don't think maybe some folks have used this in the field. We weren't trying to downplay it at all in terms of it not being a good solution. It is if you're going to leverage it as it being siloed information. Siloed information. So from there, I'm going to go to the bootcamp one because we haven't talked about this in a while, and we'll go through and leverage this from this perspective. You have the ability to access your drawings. So you're uploading it into this project platform, which does have access on your phone to leverage from documents, punch lists, R5s, and submittals. So if you don't have a tool here, and again, I think another big picture of this as well, and I don't know how I want to frame this, because if I say it's free, you're all going to say, well, Bluebeam increased their pricing. So is it truly free? it's included in your subscription of Core and Complete tier to have access to cloud. So this is a great tool if you do not have a system or you're paying X amount for a punch list, RFI tracking, submittal tracking system. Why not use something that's already included in your lowest probably license cost ever?
Yeah.
Well, I guess Microsoft is probably cheaper, right?
Potentially.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised. So here at ATG, we talk with clients every day, and we hear the most random stuff. Like, oh yeah, we're using this product, and I'm like, I've never heard of that. And there's so many little things that came out where it's, somebody made an app for RFIs, and it's $2 a month, but it's not very good, and it doesn't work with anything else. But people have adopted different forms of technology that we're now trying to figure out how to get it all aligned, and it's still leads back to the big players in the arena, which is Bluebeam, Autodesk, Procore.
Yep.
They not really. Yes, a little bit Newforma in there.
Well, and then there's that big switch from people going from Procore to Build. So it'll be interesting. What if you could initiate? That would be cool. So what if the interoperability agreement initiated you to create a project so you can access the same RFIs and submittals that are in Build? Okay. Well, anyways, let's go back to this. What does Bluebeam have to currently offer? You can go to your documents in here, and you can still go through, and if you've created some tool sets that are punch related, you could use those. But really, you can use the built-in functionality of a punch. So what this allows you to do is place a specific punch in an area like here. You can't modify it in terms of like, I wanted to say something or like an icon. Well, then use your tool set, okay? Because what this allows you to do is say location. If you had spaces already added, it would default to a specific location. Then you can add description. So Tech Summit, priority is hot. We'll have it due next Tuesday, and it's going to be conveniently emailing. Oh, Jason, you're not in this one.
Oh, fine. Kyle Lee, you get
Kyle Lee will be getting these emails. Team assignees. So I don't have any teams created in here yet. What scope of work is this? And by the way, you can change all these now, which you weren't able to at the beginning. Then you can upload a photo. For all of you, I just uploaded a sketch to scale video. We'll go to here.
Sketch to scale.
Sketch to scale. Where's my images? So I think it was in my demo docs here. There we go. So there's the image. Hit save. And this will be part of the PDF here, but also you have a punch list area. So you can go through and track. So if you were on like if I was in a different area or in a different page, well, let's just go to the actual punch list area. So here's the punch list area. There's the one I just created. You can see where it is on the PDF. You can also have the image for it. And then you can also click this, and it brings you to where that was on the PDF itself. Right. So it's still hyperlinked in that true fashion from here. Then there's RFIs. So you create an RFI and then you place the RFI somewhere. So that people get a little confused with this, but basically you create the RFI, and then once you've created the RFI, you can come into your drawings, and where is that RFI going to be? And then you're able to go into here and say RFI, and you select what RFI you want to reference in this area. Does that make sense? I think so. Okay. I'm not looking at the chat, so.
Correct.
But I just got this serious face from Mr. Early Gifts. And then you have submittals. So you do have the ability to add submittal logs into here and add a submittal. Then you can see approved submittals as well, which I don't have any in this one. I believe I have some in my first one. But there is the ability to add submittals. And then you have the dashboard. The dashboard also allows you to have a map view. So from here, you can it's a cool dashboard, tells you what punch items you got going on and things overdue. And then you got the map view. And yes, you can still mark up, of course, because everyone was probably going to be wondering that. But yeah, so you have the map view of this to be able to place the PDF set on the existing location as well. So you do have that option with like your punch list, your FIs. You can create additional layers here.
So I created one too, where I overlaid my PDF on the actual site. So if you go to your satellite, and it seems to do the same thing yours did with it shrunk down a little bit. I had it placed perfectly, and then when I go back to it, it looks like yours where it kind of shrunk.
Yeah. I'm so happy they built this.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I worked on when I was in industry. So what does this do? Hold on. Okay. One time I clicked something and it like was going to where I lived, and I was like, "Oh, not a good idea."
Yeah.
So it's not this. That's just recentering. Yeah. And this is just the view. Okay, cool. So, because there was talk about like placing it in central location, but you're not really like doing that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like GIS driven, but there was talk of
geolocation.
Yeah.
And I think there still will be as more devices are connected, you know, with your Android or your Apple device. Just the geolocation in there is within about 3 feet, which for the purpose of a punch list is hopefully good enough. But there are different devices that I saw at the conference last week. You know, Bad Elf has been making them for years. It's a small device about the size of I don't know.
Bad Elf.
Bad Elf. They're like three to $500, and it's barely this. It's smaller than your phone, which increases the accuracy. So you Bluetooth to this little device, and it takes the phone's 3 foot range, and it brings it down to about 1 foot. Or the more you spend, it can get it down to about an inch or two.
Wow.
Right. So super accurate.
So the better Bad Elf you get off the shelf, the Elf off the shelf.
Elf off the shelf, right? There was even one guy walking around who was selling them. I have his card because it was really cool. Similar device as the Bad Elf, but he said it would be sub-centimeter accuracy. And they would even rebrand them and put your brand. So if we wanted our own ATG brand of these things, he would make them for us. But
what's the technology in it that's allowing it to zero in better on a GPS?
I have no idea.
It's your cellular GPS, right? But it's enhancing it somehow.
It's pulling satellite and it's doing Bluetooth to your phone and pulling the satellite triangulation. So almost survey grade.
So it's like your watch, right? Like, because your watch has a good indication, like Garmin's and things of that nature. Yeah.
They're close, but they're not super close. Yeah. So yeah, it's satellite, David. Don't know if it was using the RTK or not, but it's really cool. I need to go find his card and look up that website because I've been recommending Bad Elf stuff for years.
So if I just type in here, Bad Elf, I don't know.
Yeah, sub-centimeter is pretty close to survey grade. Depends on.
It actually took me. I was pretty worried about what I was going to see in this Google search, but
that's fair. That's fair.
It actually was like the first search. Like if you look here.
Yeah, so they've got little devices, and some are survey grade where you have a pole and a tripod and everything, but they do have the smaller ones that can like clip onto your belt loop, or do other small things. I forget which ones they are. Could be one with Legacy Bluetooth. There you go. So they might not.
Wait, which one?
Anymore. Go to Legacy Bluetooth GNSS receivers. Yeah, those little guys.
You know what these look like?
Old pedometers.
Tamagotchis.
Yes, they do look like Tamagotchis.
There you go. David Clark at the same time. There we go.
One
A
of
little
the
expensive Tamagotchis, but
yeah. I actually met somebody who still had a Tamagotchi last week at the Esri conference. So
really,
it was pretty wild.
it's a thing still.
Yeah, she busted it out. She was in Japan and bought one. So
Dang,
it's fun.
that's
But yeah,
cool.
those little things, those little devices work really well. And now they are working on these other toys. Like, I don't want to say toys, but yeah, that one comes within, they're all discontinued, but really good
Literally
accuracy.
say sold out.
Yeah.
So they stopped this and now have like this, I guess.
Yeah.
Or is there something? No, I
I
mean,
don't
there's
know.
nothing else. Yeah. Why would they probably just didn't see a market for this? Maybe.
Uh, who knows? They probably
Yeah.
just made them better. Um, but yeah, talking about the future of Bluebeam Cloud and being able to geolocate, I'm guessing this is going to be a thing where you'll be able to use your devices to go out and place a punch that's going to be located on the job site, and you're going to have that accuracy. And if you do need more accuracy, then obviously you can use something like the Bad Elf or one of these other um, and signal enhancers.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Leica makes one too, and I'm sure Trimble does as well. But
And that convenience, right, of being able to utilize your
yeah,
phone devices that you already have, and you're not investing more into something that you don't currently have. That would be my first and foremost. That ability to access something with something that's existing, right, like your phone. So Android enablement was huge because we all know, right, you shouldn't be siloed to the type of brand of phone that you have, right? Regardless, there shouldn't be a restriction on like Apple devices and um, Android devices, even though it just comes down to more of like it's not the brand driven, it's more the technology enhancements of what you're able to do with application development. That's where that kind of came from a stagnant of it taking a little bit longer to get Android. But from like device settings and stuff comparison, because they got some pretty slick cameras and stuff. I'm not an avid Android user and I haven't been for years, but that doesn't mean I don't think that their technology is starting to advance as well. So you just can't get me away from the blue bubble. Sorry.
I can't keep track of what bubble is what. Doesn't really
Well, you got
affect
the
me.
green bubble or the blue bubble
Yeah, I don't.
from
I know it's some
Android.
sort of status thing, and I just don't care. Yeah, the Samsung camera. I've it's been a few years since I had that Samsung, but that camera blew the iPhone stuff out of the water when it comes to zoom and clarity. But
Yeah. I
I'm in the
mean,
ecosystem.
yeah, I'm in the ecosystem for cameras now too. And I think, well, I guess I'm just biased because I haven't used an Android, so I wouldn't know. But the macro camera capabilities for the iPhone are extremely, they're DSL quality for sure because that's what I use for my other stuff. So.
Fun times.
Okay. So with that, going back into here, you do have that option to go through and attach a photo. So on your phone, because I've done this before, like with my punch items, you are able to do capture. So if you're worried about, creating a punch, if you're out in the field and you're like, hey, there's something here, the capture, instead of upload, it'll say capture. So you can take a live photo as well. And let's try to tune back into my MCR one here, and it still hasn't uploaded. I don't know if it's going to create like its own file because it should have created a PDF package. That's what it's done in the past, and it still hasn't gotten one here. I'm assuming there's a lot of files because it said it did. Oh, cloud export into MCR 2024. So let me just refresh.
Export.
So you can refresh, just so you're all aware. There it is. If you're in a project, the data may not have gotten there. And so if you're ever using projects, sync means that you're syncing the data locally. So if you disconnect, that doesn't mean it's going to automatically update whenever new ones come out. I'm looking at the time, so we still got time to talk about this. Refresh means that it's refreshing, pulling new data back from the cloud. So that's why I was able to see my zip file. So the zip file exported it out, and now I have this in my folder structure. So I have drawings, punch. Here's my punch report. So again, you do have that access from here as well. So you can download it, but again, it's not live data. Matt, you asked that question earlier. Is it live? It's not pulling and pushing from projects, unfortunately. Sessions it is, but not from projects to Bluebeam Cloud projects, which is even more confusing.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they added sessions in the cloud, you're like, oh, so there's sessions and projects. That's what you have on your desktop. But actually, sessions is the same, but projects isn't the same. So let me just confuse you more.
Right. They're going to have to call it something else.
They need to, yeah. So with that kind of conclusion, we talked about some of our capabilities to leverage the solutions out in the field. So you can mark up now on your phone, your mobile devices. Still begging the question, as we started at the beginning, was thinking of not having or needing an iPad. I guess if you have poor internet connection, that would be a great device to cache local, and then you can walk out to the field and then not worried about connectivity. If that's something that you are cautiously worrying about when you're out in the field, depending on where that location is of the field, you may have a couple devices depending on need, right? But if you have great internet connection, and you're visiting a site that is finally, constructed, and you're just going through and doing a walkthrough, there may be better internet providing there as well. Then you could do your punch list from your phone. You can go through and use the cloud platform, but again, siloed information. So it just comes down to us telling you what you have capability-wise and letting you make that informed decision on what works with your workflow. Because there are now way more options for mobile access out in the field. And with that,
it's exciting to see. And I predict in the future we'll be seeing more and more, and we'll be able to add on to this topic as the months go. But in the meantime, stay tuned for those sorts of updates, and we will communicate them as soon as we find out, as normal.
Yep. And also, we will not be here next week, but tune in to the LinkedIn channel if you haven't already to see updates of what Jason and I will be doing in person, followed with Matt Lynn. We'll have Kyle Davis. We'll have Kyle Lee as well. Maybe we'll have them throw some stuff in there as well. But until next time, we'll see you all in 2 weeks, if not on social media. All righty.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Have a good one.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.